I have had many experiences in, let's just say, professional sports where I got a chance to observe what a lot of the high level coaches and physical therapists and athletic trainers were doing. And I'll just start from the beginning. There was an opportunity I had. At this point, it could be 8 to 10 years. I'm not even sure. But there was a time when I went to a luncheon with a very well-known strength coach. He had a luncheon and he invited a lot of people. And
this is in California.
It's in California, yes. And I went there to network, and just so happened I went there, and there were some people with him who were, I think one was an equipment manager. There was a strength coach there too. And we hit it off, and they were like, hey, you should come check out our facility, their facilities in LA. And, I got a chance to watch this professional team do their it was kind of like a warm up, but it was more like physical therapy. The whole team minus maybe a few players. Also, they had the G League players there too. They were doing some warm ups, right? And these are warm ups that they're pretty standard. Skips, things, and that. And they're doing a lot of ankle stuff. And I was asking questions. And I was asking one of I think it was an ATC. I think it was an athletic trainer. I was just asking one of the athletes, hey, what are these? At that time, I knew what they were, but I want to know why they were doing them, right? So an example of an exercise would be like dorsiflexion, working on dorsiflexion, right? So there's an exercise where you put your hands on the wall.
So dorsiflexion, like basically,
yes,
this motion, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They were big on that. They said, look, basketball players have not good dorsiflexion. It causes a lot of Achilles injuries. And I said, oh, it makes a lot of sense. You stretch the room for the joint, more room for the joint, probably it will be less opportunity to have an Achilles injury. And so I didn't really think much to it. I just I watched them go through. There was there's dorsiflexion exercises. They took a band, and there was a lot of dorsiflexion stuff where they moved the foot against the resistance of the band. Let's see what else. They did some lunge drills where they, basically the point is they were big on foot and ankle training, and especially mobility of the ankle. And I don't remember them doing anything that was strength based, but it was mainly just mobility. It was just the ankle dorsiflexion, moving in that sense. So anyway, that year or maybe a year after, some of the athletes had some. There's a year where there was an injury. There was some injuries that year, right? And I don't know what happened, but that's what I witnessed. And I told you about the story, and you had some theories. We talked about it, and yeah, I mean, whatever they did, I'm not going to say if it worked or not, but it didn't prevent any injuries. That's for sure. And I mean, now after speaking with you and your theories on what it is, I'm not doing any more of that stuff. I think there's. Let me just inject a personal training story in there. I've been doing those exercises that I witnessed that day forever. I knew what they were, and I've been doing them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never become a better athlete, or even decreased my lower back pain, or even increased my ankle mobility for that matter. I've always had one ankle that just wasn't moving, and it didn't matter how much I did the dorsiflexion, mobility, any of that stuff. At best, I would have a temporary result, and the next day it would be either back or worse down the line. So, moral of the story is, I would say most people at the pro level, they have no idea of what you're doing. Like, you're doing something that's almost the opposite of what people are doing. It's literally the opposite. I've seen more than one pro team talk about this dorsiflexion thing, and it has been like almost 10 years at this point, but I don't think anything's changed. I've worked in physical therapy. I've been in the clinic when the physical therapist would have basketball players. I worked at a place South Pasadena. It was called Arroyo Seco Tennis Center. It was very pretty high end, like a physical therapy studio was in there, like tennis players. But anyway, their specialty was basketball players. And when they had basketball players, the basketball players would do the same dorsiflexion stuff, the same ankle stuff, taping afterwards, all that stuff. They would do kind of the exact same things I witnessed at this facility. So it seems that that is so anyway, that day when I saw all this stuff, and I saw it many other times after that, I just was like, oh, this is normal, this is normal. I didn't really think about that what they were doing maybe didn't work or whatnot until I started looking at your stuff. I was like,
Right.
Why is this guy doing the opposite? Why is he saying not to do dorsiflexion? Like, I've been told dorsiflexion is the reason why there's lower body injuries, lacking dorsiflexion. That's why all these NBA players, when they squat, they can only get to like a quarter depth, and that's like their best. Some of them can't even get to a quarter. And in the strength coach's mind, it's like, well, they don't have enough ankle dorsiflexion. That's why they can't go down that low. So let's work on it, and let's work on their squat so that they can get down that low. And I think, now that I think about it, it probably is not good. It's destroying a natural. I have a theory now that anything that you do in the weight room, that anything that you, let's say something you developed on the court, right, or on the field, and in the weight room, you're doing something that kind of takes away that development, then you're detraining the athlete, right? That's just how it is, right? If you have 100 basketball players and all of them can't squat past parallel, there might be a reason why these guys are not squatting past parallel, and that they're they're all the same and they're all elite. There might be a reason here, so maybe we shouldn't get all these people to be trying to squat to parallel because dorsiflexion mobility is not good. Maybe we should think about why it is that they're here in the first place, so hopefully that answered your question.
Right. I mean, that's something that a lot of people, I think, who are skeptical and getting conflicting information from the mainstream, and then when they look at my stuff, they don't know who to believe, right? They're like, okay, the mainstream is saying you should practice your dorsiflexion. And here's a guy, here's a coach. Before I was nobody, right? And now I have champion, I have UFC champion. I work with high paying athletes now. But why is this guy suggesting not to do it? And his Hyperarch mechanism basically secures, stabilizes ankle from any type of dorsiflexion. I mean, you can still dorsiflex, but then the anterior tibial tendon will be activated in the motion of you doing the dorsiflexion, and the degree is much less. Whereas a regular person with no activation in engagement in the toes, in the foot, when they dorsiflex, it's going to be just a collapse of the ankle forward, right? So that is a significant difference physiologically. And also the point I want to make is, if dorsiflexion is such a big deal, then why do we tape our athletes and secure their ankle, and while they were executing the most athletic movement on court, right? So if you have your ankle taped, there's no room for you to dorsiflex like the way you were doing in the weight room. So what does that mean? That means they don't need the dorsiflexion to execute those movements. Otherwise, they could not do those dunks. Otherwise, they could not do those chase down blocks, and they can't shoot properly, and they will have biomechanical problems when they run. Obviously, the issue here, I mean, I'm probably the first coach that ever talk about this, is if the dorsiflexion ability is so important, then why do we still tape athletes' ankles and they cannot dorsiflex or plantar flex, and they can perform the best and then getting paid millions?
Yeah, before you even said that, I never really made the connection. I've been in, high school, college, professional sports as a coach. And I played high school and college, community college, and we would always do just when we taped stuff, it was all for. And again, I'm not an athletic trainer, so I'm kind of speaking from a patient or an athlete perspective, it was all for stability. You know, we never really thought about dorsiflexion. It was all like, okay, if I'm rooted here, if I have stable ankles, I'm going to be able to run faster. That was kind of, I remember people in high school, we would all be stuck in the training room, taping our ankles before certain games. And yeah, we never really asked. I mean, we never really cared. It was just like a thing. You know, some people would tape them, some people wouldn't. You know, surprisingly, the best players had always taped their ankles. You know, now that I look back on it, you know, all the best players taped their ankles, and they you know, if you ask them, they would probably just tell you it's just you feel more stable. It's more stability.
Right.
I mean, I can't answer your question. I don't know. You know, because if dorsiflexion is so important, why do people? I mean, that's an oxymoron, right? It's like it's a paradox. It's what doesn't make any sense. You know, why would you do that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You know, that this is kind of like why your stuff, your system or method resonated with me, is because I'm not stumping you and you're not avoiding my questions. It's usually you're stumping me and I can't answer your questions. You know, it's because there's a lot of people out there where when you ask them about something, right, their answer is more complex than the question. And I don't think you've ever done that, which that's a sign of something, right? Because there's a lot of people, when you ask them a question, their answer is more complicated than the question you asked. And I'm like, well, this is going down into a hole that I don't want to be down. But when I ask you a question about that, you give me a concise answer. And more often than not, you give me a question that I can't really answer. I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Right, but doing our exercises, we do not work on dorsiflexion at all. Our ankle is stabilized, and there is no way for you to sprain your ankle. Correct? When you can't, once you activate the fascia, your ankle is secure.
Yeah.